What's up, guys? This is Jesse Corby at Jeweler's Advantage, and today we have another profound presentation for you titled Alchemy and AI, Alchemy and Artificial Intelligence. So no doubt today is going to be transformative. You're going to want to stick around all the way to the end because I personally believe that you are not going to see the jewelry industry the same after this presentation. I'm setting the bar that high, guys. So of course, we're talking about alchemy, the ancient mystical science of transmuting base metals into gold, and artificial intelligence, this brand new miracle of science that is going to transform humanity. And we're going to bring these two ideas together as a type of mental model that you can use as the jeweler of the future. So before we get into it, I want to set the stage a little bit. You're going to learn how to draw on a piece of paper, a piece of jewelry that turns into a photorealistic jewelry image. So from drawing on a piece of paper, taking a picture on your phone, and by the way, our tool does work on mobile, and getting a photorealistic image of a piece of jewelry. Pretty amazing. So the entire thread of that conversation in our tool is available in the comments below. You'll be able to see that. If you want to pull that up and look at it as we go, you're more than welcome. I don't have any secret sauce in my prompts. Everything is under the hood with the Jeweler's Advantage tool. But if you're curious at all to see what I'm saying specifically and what the tool is communicating back to us, that's there that you can go over in your own time. So let's talk about alchemy. When we're talking about alchemy and how it applies to artificial intelligence with the Jeweler's Advantage CoPilot, I need to give you a quick disclaimer real quick that we need to be able to talk about spiritual topics and religious topics because these ideas have had such a profound effect on the world. And obviously they're a part of our industry. It's a matter of understanding that the meaning that your customer assigns to the world, that is a very, very big part of being successful in this field. You have to understand people's concept of God in order to sell them jewelry a lot of the time. So we are going to include topics like that. So with all of that said, I just want to put out a quick disclaimer and say, let's keep it professional in the comments. Regardless of what is happening in the world, I'm going to have to remove any political comments without apology. No apologies here. And anyone who is hostile or bullying out of the group. We have to be able to rise above these things in this industry, and we have to be able to talk about symbolism and religious and spiritual themes because of everything I said before. So let's talk about alchemy. So that's turning base metals into gold. Let's really think about that for just a second. What it would have meant to be an alchemist, right? Their knowledge started out as sun worship of the pagans, if you've heard of the pagans, which gradually made its way into Egypt, okay? And then evolved through a network of mystery schools. What is a mystery school? It would have been where they're studying consciousness and studying the mind and certain phenomena that could occur. And there was a network of these mystery schools that spanned from ancient Egypt to East Asia and everywhere in between. So all through the Middle East, all through India, all through Asia. And if you've heard of any of the following, you've essentially heard of certain power structures or systems that would have been underpinned by these alchemists. And that would have been the ancient Egyptians and their mystery schools, the Greek philosophers. So if you've heard of somebody like Pythagoras, the guy did a lot more than triangles. Look into what Pythagoras did beyond triangles. He was a special person. Also an alchemist. There's the mystic Jewish teachings of Kabbalah. There's the Christian mystics like the Knights Templar. If you've heard of the Knights Templar, there was also an Islamic mystery school in Persia called the Rites Mithras. Makes you start to wonder what the Crusades could have been really about. Just speculating. There's also the Hindu yogis. So if you've heard of people going to something like a Kundalini yoga class, that's based on mystery schools. There's Buddhists throughout East Asia. And then if you've heard of also the Rosicrucians or the Freemasons, all of that comes together in their schools of thought and their symbolism as well. So this thing about alchemy, it wasn't just this mysterious, mythical thing. It was a well-kept secret, and whatever they were working on was very safely guarded and underpinning all of the power structures throughout human history. Just keep that in the memory banks. If you've heard of people like the Egyptian gods Osiris or the Greek gods Hermes or Apollo, if you've heard of somebody named King Solomon or Moses or Jesus or Pythagoras or King Arthur and Merlin, you've been subjected in some way to alchemy. So I just want to keep all of this in mind because this is the symbolism that's more or less built the world. And I could go on and on. The point is, all of these groups or people or mythical figures or whatever, they all share a common ground with this network of mystery schools. And they all had the same goal largely in mind when it came to communicating the symbolism and what they were trying to achieve for themselves and humanity. And that was that they wanted to elevate their consciousness and they wanted to align with the creative power of the universe. I know this sounds heavy, but isn't that what we're here to do as artists? If we're here to create things, shouldn't we expand our minds and strive for the best that we can do with the things that we're trying to create? In that way, a jeweler can learn a lot about the various teachings of alchemy, and I would highly recommend that everybody maybe take a little bit of time to go study this. Today, the symbolism that I want to talk about is the idea of the serpent, because the symbol of the serpent, as in the snake, has made its way into all of these different mystery schools. All of them understood it as a metaphor for expanding your consciousness. If you want the most straightforward approach to understanding this symbolism and how it affected all of the mystery schools of the alchemists, then I would recommend just taking a quick glimpse into Kundalini yoga. It's a form of yoga which uses serpent symbolism as a means of self-fulfillment, I guess you could say. So the symbolism that we're going to talk about today is from the story of Adam and Eve. So this story actually has 7 different interpretations that you could go into. In the West, if you grew up going to Sunday school, then it was kind of a scary story about how Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden. There was an apple, there was a serpent. The serpent tempted Eve. Eve tempted Adam. They ate the apple and everything went wrong from there. I'm not going to get into really the literal translation of the story of Adam and Eve. Again, we're talking about a network of ancient people and what their goals and beliefs were. And I'm going to show you how we can use that in tandem with artificial intelligence to design jewelry. So I believe that what the story of Adam and Eve represents is actually this process as an allegory. So we're going to use that as a symbol here to move forward and understand how to use the technology and also understand the importance of symbolism to your customer. So let's move into the Jeweler's Advantage thread for the rest of the presentation. As you can see here, I've got a drawing of kind of a ring. I'm not the best artist when it comes to drawing, but I was just trying to get an idea down. I didn't want to take a lot of time. I thought that I could at least get the dimensions right for what a ring might look like. I thought it would be kind of cool to represent the story of the Garden of Eden through a ring. And how could we do that with the serpent and the apple? Well, maybe a red gemstone like a ruby or some type of lab-created sapphire. And then we've got a gold ring that is going to look like the scales of the serpent. And we want it to create the look of an apple. So what I did was I simply drew a picture on a piece of notebook paper and took a picture on my phone and put it into the chat thread. It was that simple. And all I said was describe this image. Jeweler's Advantage had to say, the image is a hand-drawn sketch of a ring that features a stylized heart shape in the center with what appears to be wings on either side. I think that's kind of fair. It didn't pick up scales. It thought that they were wings. So I simply said, do you see how it could be an apple and serpent shaped gemstone ring? You'll see in the thread, I'm not going to read out everything that this says, but essentially Jeweler's Advantage had to say, yes, I can see what that's all about. And it also said that this fits in with various cultural and mythological stories where the serpent is often depicted coiled around an apple. So the AI is already on the same page with us, the same way you would want your designer to be. I was saying, make this with a 3-carat red ruby. The band is 18-carat yellow gold. The band is detailed to simulate the look of serpent scales. All red lines in the drawing are heart-shaped ruby. All blue lines are yellow gold with a scale pattern, dark background, high end. And this is what we got. So if we compare and contrast what I started with, and then on the very first try, we're already starting to see this as a photorealistic render. The scales are pretty close to the way I depicted them too. And we do get clearly a heart-shaped gemstone that looks like it could be about 3 carats. We have some extra gemstones here on the side. That's just something that you have to be prepared for, is that this is more of an ideation tool. So something to think about. People have been asking me questions along the lines of how can I get really accurate with what I'm trying to do? Of course, providing a drawing is going to give really good context, but we also want to think about what this tool is for. The same way that a hammer and a drill are different tools, you have to approach using AI and CAD as 2 different things. If you already know specifically what you want, you're probably at the stage where it's time to work with the CAD operator. But if you're trying to create new ideas that you haven't thought of yet, then perhaps AI is the better choice on that, because then you can get multiple looks and you can get ideas that weren't necessarily in your head yet that you could discover that you like. In the same way that an automaker might have multiple concept images for a particular vehicle, you can do that with your jewelry, and then it's piecemeal to pick features from different designs and show that to a CAD designer, which is eventually going to just make your piece come together faster and exactly how you want in a different way than you'd expect. So let me show you the thread here, because I like to take a loose approach with this. If you get really focused trying to force the AI to do exactly what you want, sometimes it does work, but sometimes that's frustrating. So I like to just try to keep it loose, like a brainstorm session, like show me what I haven't been thinking of, my AI employee. That's exactly what we did here. I said, it looks great, but make a variation viewed from the front, simple white background, no gemstones in the band, only yellow gold. And it did follow the directions, gave me a super photorealistic image of a heart ring. That would be a fantastic product. I just wanted to get scales in here and it wasn't quite getting that. So I said, we're 99% there. Create a version exactly like the most recent image. The prongs must be sharp claws. The simple gold band must have a scale pattern in the surface. It took the directions a little bit literal and it made these sharp bird-like claws. So this is kind of a throwaway. You're going to get these. You just have to be ready to move on and go, okay, oops, that didn't quite get what I wanted. I said, where is the snake and serpent scale pattern? I want to see that. This is where a phenomenon occurred and can occur for you with AI. It was having trouble just generating the image just because of traffic on the platform. Every once in a while, you have to reload just like any type of software. And it said, I encountered issues generating the new image. Here is the phenomenon that can occur. There's something strange that happens with the AI if you say things along the lines of, try again, I believe you can do this. Or I believe in you, I think you can do it. It sounds weird, but this is what we got. Something happened in like the subconscious of the AI where it came back and gave me something perfect. So if we look back to the original image, this is what I was trying to go for. I wanted it to be clearly a Garden of Eden kind of theme with a red apple and a serpent. And we come down here and it's a little bit of a deviation, but it's also giving me something very, very spot on. We have sharp claws. So it is serpent-like in that way. Clearly the scales, clearly the underbelly of a serpent with the ring still being functional with a flat surface to be worn. So this was excellent. This would be the kind of thing that in under 10 minutes, this is what I was going for, dancing with it, and I already got what I wanted. So I'd basically be done here. I could stop if I wanted, but let's keep going because AI jewelry is fun. So I said, this is perfect. Create another variation almost exactly like this, just an alternate take on the same idea. At this point, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to drum up multiple ideas to see if we're either able to beat this idea or bring in other images or visuals for features I could combine together and bring to a CAD designer and get that to work. So here's one. there's kind of multiple serpents. I don't really know about this, but okay, that's fine. It took a couple of seconds. Looks awesome. Create more variations of this. In this case, I said, create another variation that is slightly different from the previous two images, but more feminine. So it took the same basic idea of what I was trying to do. And obviously we can all agree that this is a more feminine take on the idea. This is still obviously a heart-shaped center, and perhaps this could still tie into the Garden of Eden idea, but it's just another take. Let's just keep it going. So since we have a feminine version, let's make a more masculine version. Here we are. This is kind of a men's Godfather ring type version of the idea. Here we've got scale patterns again. We've got obviously the heart shape. There's some kind of serpentine thing going on over here. But what I'm thinking is I don't really like all of this, but maybe there is something to be said for what the image is getting right. So if I were to be working with a designer on this, what I might say is, hey, what I really like is this angle and line work here. I like these scales. How could we take this band and mirror it on the other side so that we're removing these creatures of some kind, but we're taking this design element, which is really quite cool. If we had 2 of these on either side, so we had 4 of those elements, and then we have kind of a ruby halo heart-shaped ring. So it's kind of like a masculine heart-shaped ring kind of thing. Maybe something you'd see on a villain in a John Wick movie or something like that, like a crime movie with a colorful villain. So let's keep going with that idea. Here was another take that I thought was quite cool. We've got a serpent. It's kind of a cobra here. So it's like the cobra is eating the apple. We would scale the prongs down. Maybe over here, we would lose this element and just bring the scales all the way to the top. And if that was done and these prongs were smaller and these scales were brought up to the front, it's pretty much a complete design. That is more or less the take that we're looking for a men's Godfather Garden of Eden type ring. Let's keep it going. This one I didn't really like. This kind of looks like something out of Prometheus or the Alien movies or something like that. Maybe some of you would like this, but this just isn't something I would make. So we keep moving. Here's another one where there are some elements that I do like. Some things here kind of remind me of Jacob & Co. The way the lines are presented, and overall the construction of the ring is good, but I don't like these snakes. Maybe there's something here though, that if there was inlaid set red gemstones and some other type of alternate pattern, that could be pretty cool. You could have kind of an eternity band type thing on a men's ring. So then I've got enough ideas on the Godfather stuff to be able to make the piece. And I say, hey, make a matching pair of earrings based on the design. This is ready to go. That's just a one and done accessory, already complete, already finished. You could do earrings on this. And what I like about earring designs with this technology is that you could just as easily turn them into cufflinks. So maybe you're this crime boss, supervillain type guy from the John Wick movies, and you wear Garden of Eden Godfather rings, and you have cufflinks to match with the serpent. That's cool. And I was thinking, let's make a men's gemstone bracelet to match. So if you're into hip hop, I can tell you I've sold a lot of hip hop jewelry. This would move. If you had a line of communication with somebody's manager or something like this, I could just as easily see the Cardi B's of the world, the Megan Thee Stallions of the world wearing a piece like this. You can tell that even the construction is done right. It's hollowed to keep the weight down. And then we have this kind of Cuban pattern on top with the gemstones. This is a realistic depiction of something that you could actually make, which is quite cool. So there we go. We got 2 accessories, just boom, boom, in a couple of seconds, 2 new products that could match the theme of Garden of Eden, serpents and apples, things of that nature. So let's keep going. Let's see what else we can get. Aha. So now I want to make a men's pendant to match. And why wouldn't you be able to make it a lady's pendant either? But I want to do a 3D sculpted fire at the top of a heart to symbolize the burning heart found in many spiritual savior figures. So in the mystery schools of alchemy, if you go through that network and all of the various deities of the various cultures, you'll see lots of paintings, not just in the Christian world, but you'll see a lot of paintings where a deity or an elevated figure has a burning heart. that burning heart has a word, and the word that permeates through all of the mystery schools, regardless of modern religious ideas, the word is Christ. It makes you wonder, okay, what does that really mean? Essentially, it just means that the figure is enlightened. So if you're trying to learn how to read the symbolism of various cultures and how you can tie that into your story, of course, the word you hear in the mainstream with that word is Jesus Christ, but it's not like if I go to the doctor and they were saying, Jesse Corby, the doctor will see you now. It's not like they're saying, Jesus Christ, the doctor will see you now. It was basically a label saying this person or this deity or this figure has achieved oneness or enlightenment or something like that. So bear in mind when you see that symbolism, it's a symbol. It's a state of being. So to match the idea of unfoldment with an apple and a serpent, let's go on to essentially a symbol of enlightenment that would fit with this world, with that particular belief system. So we've got burning hearts. I wasn't really crazy about this one, but we're on the right track. There are things here that you could use that are quite cool, but I just wanted to keep it moving and see what else we could get. So essentially I said, try again. This was a piece that came out. It looked like it was still keeping on with that Godfather idea. You have to keep in mind that AI can be like us sometimes, where we perseverate on the same ideas and thinking patterns unless we break them. You have to make sure that you help the AI break that if you've already been getting it to think a certain way. Now, there was a happy accident here in that since it was staying on the Godfather theme, and then now we're going to this burning heart idea, we have Godfather kind of in there. This would be something that you could do as a semi-custom. Like if the AI generates words, pay attention to where they're placing them, because maybe there's a happy accident design-wise that's going to make it so you can get the CAD done for the piece and then be able to insert anyone's family name into the burning heart. I think that this piece would probably shoot the lights out in hip hop. So you guys saw it here first. I'll probably end up making this. So that's a cool one. Then I was thinking, try again on the pendant. The bail is fire-shaped, based on symbolism from Kabbalah and mystic Christianity rope chain. Kabbalah and mystic Christianity seem to have made their way into this version. Looks like we might have a little bit of Hebrew in here. And then, of course, there is the heart. It did get that in. A well-crafted piece. I like this texture in the background. And then we've got some flames coming out of it. Maybe this looks kind of like incense, kind of tying into the tabernacle of Moses or something like that. That's rooted in Kabbalah. But it also looks like maybe we're getting a little Godfather stuff because of the marionette strings that are present in that logo from the Godfather movies. So maybe we don't like that. Maybe we do like that. This would be something that you could change in CAD, but it's another cool take. So then I said, forget any previous attachment to the Godfather theme. We can eliminate that if we don't like it. And this version of the pendant should be fully inspired by symbolism from Kabbalah and mystic Christianity. So essentially, I wanted to see if I could remove any Godfather-esque themes and get something else. This is pretty cool. It's more of a tribal kind of take, but there is clearly fire on the heart, clearly a well-dimensioned and proportioned heart gemstone. It got the fire and the bail. This is what I really wanted to see. And I was just going to keep asking until it gave me that option. I could take that to a CAD operator and we could combine this feature. If I really need the heart with a fiery bail, I'm getting that piece here now that I can combine in with other elements if I so choose. Try again, but simpler and vintage modern style, still Kabbalah and mystic Christianity symbolism, minimalism. Here we go. So we've got another shape here. Of course, there is some artifacts from the AI that you probably wouldn't use in the finished version, but if you flew this into a CAD program, the gold outline to set the gemstone is really all you're looking for. What I thought was really interesting too is that keeping in mind Kabbalah and mystic Christianity symbolism, this is also tying in something from ancient Egypt. So now we've got make a version inspired by the flaming heart in many paintings of Jesus. So I was just trying to give it a different angle. I didn't really like what it gave me. Try again. The flaming heart is a symbol of Christ consciousness. Capture the essence of that idea in this design. So the idea of unity consciousness, of plugging into the cloud internet of the universe. That's the idea of what they're describing in all of those mystery schools. And that's what I wanted it to draw from. It started getting kind of close. This is pretty cool. You could use this 3D sculpted gold. This idea is getting on point, but I just wanted another look. So I said, make one more version of the most recent image, but minimalist. And here we go. This is the final one in the thread. So this one is pretty cool because to tie it back to the pagans, which essentially started all the mystery schools as their knowledge made its way to ancient Egypt and throughout the East, they were really into the seasons and nature worship and sun worship. And here we've got a theme that is tying in potentially the 4 seasons. This is a great place to stop in terms of alchemy and this whole journey we've been on to create these pieces. So a couple of quick thoughts here. If we're thinking like an alchemist and we're at the end of the presentation, you want to approach the AI as a tool for ideation and having that be rapid ideation. If you try to get too spearheaded into exactly what you're trying to get, you can get the results you're trying to get, but you might be sacrificing some of the potential of the tool, because if you're here to curate, if you're here to create lots and lots of imagery and then curate from what you have based on an idea, at that point, you can develop a collection. Think back to the Cuban hip hop heart bracelet, to those serpent and heart cufflinks or earrings. You have the various serpent and heart rings. You have the burning heart pendants. That is all part of a unified branded idea that could be part of a branded collection. And that is more in alignment with the potential of what this tool can be, because then you can go on to develop a whole brand around it, develop a whole marketing plan around it, develop a whole sales strategy and manufacturing strategy, and even the finance and so on. If you're getting too zeroed in on, I need the one piece I'm making here in the Jeweler's Advantage tool to look like this one thing, of course, start with a drawing, and that's going to give you a lot closer of a starting point, and then be ready to curate because you already know what you think. The power of this tool is it can show you maybe what you're not thinking and give you ideas that you would like to use, but you didn't even know that you wanted to use. So anyway, that's my time for today. Thank you for tuning in. This is Jesse at Jeweler's Advantage, and I will see you in the next one.